G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, one of the most controversial videos, what we're going to be checking out, and a little bit different as well, we're going to be checking out Eachine's new Wizard TS215, and I can already hear the dentists out there screaming because look how much this looks like this frame over here. So now this is one of the disposable frames, or the ultralights, whatever you want to call them, the floss frames, and the top plate looks very, very similar. So what we're going to be doing in this video, we're sitting on the bench, we're going to be having a quick squeeze at some of its components, all that sort of stuff, talk about why it might be better to pick a frame like this if you're after that sort of ultralight, because they are very different. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take it out to the field, fly it around, and I think we're going to see this thing catch on fire, because I've already been out, I've already been flying this thing around, doing a fair bit of testing, and you're going to see why there is a few little changes we need to make on this thing. But it's all good information, so let's stick it on the bench, get started, and find out why the TS215 is going to be so controversial. Alright, let's do it. Alrighty, so here it is on the bench. Here's the Eachine Wizard TS215, and look, as a bit of an overview. Oh, I should also mention too, look, I did rip off the ESC, all that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video, and I have been flying this thing around. But let's start here as an overview of what this is. It's a 5-inch bind and fly racer. It's meant to take up to a 6S. Spoiler alert, it actually didn't handle that very well. It's not really designed to carry a GoPro. It does do some crazy stuff with some, I guess, Dvr footage that it's meant to record for you, and you're pretty much meant to get one of these as a cheap alternative if you just want something to take out of the box and fly it around and get some crazy speed. Or that's sort of the Wizard's ethos anyway. In the past, you know, they sort of looked very similar to the QAVs back in the day, and that's one thing about the frame. You're going to notice straight away it looks so similar to this in the top plate. Now, and I do say the top plate because that's an important distinction to make. This part here is so iconic on the floss, and I'll link this down below. This is Bob's frame, and look, these are totally different beasts. Don't buy one of these thinking you're going to get one of these, because they are vastly different, not even in terms of quality, which they are very different in terms of quality as well, but when you have a built-up hyperlight versus this thing built like this, they're not going to be anything comparable really whatsoever. They're very different beasts. This thing I do think will take a beating a bit better. It might go a little bit faster, can take higher voltages if it actually managed to get that correct without sort of something going on. I'm not sure what went on. And this thing here, there's a little bit more disposable, you know, a bit higher quality, maybe a little bit more thought in there, and it is an original, you know, and like if you break the arms, these things are designed to replace. You can see this thing's a lot more meaty, all that sort of stuff. Look, some people don't mind breaking an arm and buying new ones and those sorts of things, and that's why the arms are pretty cheap. Other people prefer not to go that route in the first place and just get something that's a little bit meatier. So what I want to say is, don't be getting one of these thinking you're going to get one of these. And I'm really a little bit disappointed right there how it looks so similar, because if that had a different top plate, I don't think people would be buying that, making that mistake. It's a little bit misleading doing it like that. Now what we should do, we're going to talk about the components a little bit, and then we're going to be taking it out to the field, ripping around, and you'll see what Trevor reckons it was in a big ball of fire in the sky, but we're going to find out about that. But let's start it off, kick it off with some of the components. So we're going to take these cyclones off here. I just have them on loosely. So you get some Dell cyclones, you get some in a really cool blue color that I'll flash on the screen as well, so that should pop up. So let's take these off. So there we go, we'll take those off. They're the 5046s tri-blade cyclones, great props. It's good to see they're finally using some good props in Eachine's bind and fly. Now the frame itself, it's made up of 4 separate arms underneath, and I've got to say, even though it's this blue color, it is true carbon fiber. So you can see some of the scratches in here. When I had it at Trevor's house, we're checking it with a multimeter, it was going beep beep beep, all the right places, even in the middle of the arms, all that sort of stuff. The original, not the original, the Wizard X220S actually fooled me. Those arms slipped past me and they weren't true carbon fiber, but on this one I'm happy to say it is real carbon. The whole thing is carbon right there. Now what we have, we should probably start at the outside, work our way in, and on the outside we've got some of these motors. I'll flash a picture on the screen as well as these. These are the Eachine TS2306 2450 kV motor, and I gotta say, that's probably my favorite part about this build. These motors, they went like the clackers. They were a very good motor, and I was kind of surprised for such a cheap build, because look, it's only 200 bucks, and I think it did pretty well. And then moving towards the middle, you can see we don't have a 4-in-1, and that's where it's different too. You couldn't put ESCs on this arm whatsoever, so really, I guess when we talk about the comparisons, the only thing that is similar in these is this top plate. But we've got these ESCs on the arms instead of a 4-in-1, and they're a 40 amp 2 to 6S LiPo 32-bit, so that's crazy. Some pretty good high quality ESCs, and they also have a little LED that flashes up here on them, which looks pretty cool. It's a blue color as well. And then if we move towards the middle, I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen. Our flight controller is actually on the bottom and this one big sort of PCB board on the bottom. So look, I'm not really a fan of that. I would prefer just a carbon stack or something like that, and then to put your flight controller on the top. But what can you do? It's an F4, it's got built-in OSD, all that sort of standard jazz like an omnibus, all that sort of stuff. And you can see it works as a PDB as well. So that's where we're connecting our wires up, and that's running the current through here. Now, I was pretty blown away at how much juice you could actually push through this thing and it still kept giving. I didn't think that'd be possible, but look, it did it pretty well, and we will talk about why it failed a little bit later on as well. On top of that, this is what was meant to be one of the stars of the show. We actually have a little board. So this board right here records, because this is not designed for a GoPro, this records at 720p, and that's your DVR footage when you're flying around. But I gotta say, I've seen some DVR boards in the past that do a great job, but unfortunately in this version, it introduced quite a lot of lag. So some latency and frame rate skipping, all that sort of stuff. However, that's working with the FPV camera at the front, which has a 2.8mm lens. I'm not really a fan of that. You know, something was going on there that was making it very difficult to fly. And then on top of that, look, and I'll flash another picture on the screen. What we've got is our little VTX, and one thing I do like is the connector that they've got. I think that's good. It's one of those MCX or whatever it is connectors on the back. That's pretty cool. You got a nice big display here, your buttons on the side, and that's connected up to one of these little pigtails, which I'm not really a fan of. I don't know why these frames do this. I think that's a poor design. I would much prefer a whip that ran out the back and sort of poked off the top. I think that would be a lot better. But one unfortunate thing, it's copying like the TBS design. I don't know why Eachine, look, you could have just put a normal mushroom on here and all that sort of stuff. I'm not a big fan of that FPV antenna, in all honesty. I just prefer a little whip. I think that would be a much better solution. Now, some of the other little extras, look, it comes bind and fly, so it can bind straight up to your Tyrannus. You've got your battery lead on the back. That needs to be zip tied down. I'm not really a fan of that. And I think that wire is a bit too thin as well, especially when you're putting like a 6S battery or something like that on there. Oh, and you've also got this dumb rocker switch on the back, which that is very, very annoying because it clips into the pole. So when you're trying to start your DVR recording using the switch, I think that part's a little bit silly as well. That seems to be the common theme with this frame, or with this TS215. Look, there's a lot of things in here that it could do well, but it just happens to miss the mark on them, you know, by a little or by a lot, but just does some things that it shouldn't really be that way. Anyway, what we should do, let's talk about the design of the thing, because this is where things are going to get a little bit heated. So as a 5-inch racer that's bind and fly, I think it does okay, but what I really don't like is how it borrows the design of this top plate so similar. If we flip it over, yeah, look, it's just 4 arms, all that sort of stuff. The arms have different shapes, they're different thicknesses, they bolt on differently, all that sort of stuff. This part's a little bit different, the cutouts. I'm not too concerned with that part. The only part I don't really like, oh, and this antenna part, that's the same too on the floss, but the only part I don't like is this top frame, and I think that might mislead people into thinking it's this one. So I'm not really a fan of that, and whatever's going on there, I wish that would change a little bit. And the other bit of the design that I've got to say is the components don't really fit. So look, I didn't mind the powertrain between the motors and ESCs. I thought that was pretty good, but the camera in here, I don't know if they actually flew this thing around. You guys are going to see it. I don't know if it comes up in the DVR, but in our impressions when we're flying it, there was a lot of latency and lag, which made it pretty much not very enjoyable to fly whatsoever. Now, here's a big one. Let's talk about the quality, because the quality of this thing, look, I know it's only $200, and look, it does go like a rocket on 4S, but the quality in here, that's where it's lacking. I think the build quality is missing up a little bit. What actually happened to me in one of the flights, one of these arm bolts, which I actually put this spare on, and I think it's this one, it's a little bit of a different color. This came out in one of the flights, so that's one of the theories. We're not 100% sure what happened. That caused, actually this one, that caused the arm to go back, that caused then the ESC to rip off and shoot out and spark and all that sort of stuff. So we're not too sure what was happening. We were doing a speed run, and look, we'll see it with Cal when he was behind the shield. Thank goodness that it didn't hit him. But yeah, so that's, I'm not too sure what's going on, and that's kind of what I expect from this quality, because it is so cheap and only $200. And I'm not going to be judging, like some people only have $200 to spend on a quad, and I totally understand that. And I started off with one of these cheap kits as well, but there are a few things I'd want to be fixing up. So I'd be tightening up all the screws, I'd be making sure all the solder joints are perfect, because I'd be putting this zip tie down. I would like some thicker wire on the back. There's a little bit of a bow right here which needs a standoff in, all that sort of stuff. The quality, it's just letting down, and that's what you get when you get one of these cheaper ones. The quality is just not the same. Now, in the past on the original Wizard, I really liked it, and I do think that Eachine makes some good stuff, but this one, it's just missing the mark on too many levels, so that part's a little bit of a shame. And the carbon quality, well, I guess it held up pretty well in the crash that it had. So I actually was really impressed with that. But it's not going to be anything like this one right here. So this is the floss, and I think the design and the quality of this one is going to be a little bit better. And some people, this frame has a big following. I know a lot of people like it. I'm not too sure how I feel about disposable arms and sort of saying, oh, the arms break, they're cheap, so it doesn't matter. I kind of prefer a frame where, I'll link this down below as well, but I kind of prefer a frame where I can just keep crashing it and keep, I don't have to worry about it breaking all the time, because I've seen a lot of reports and a lot of people asking me how they feel about when they're breaking all their arms on this thing. But look, it's very popular, and if you can build one of these super light, it goes very well. I'll link this down below. There's a lot of science in there. I know Bob's done some great stuff with there. He's really active in the community. And look, he seems to know what he's talking about, or he has a lot of opinions about it, whatever. Regardless if you think he's right or wrong, there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, and I feel like that's what's missing with this one right here. Now moving on to the pros and the cons, and this is pretty easy to do because I've already flown this thing. So this thing, I can take that into account when I talk about this as well. What we have, let's talk about the cons first. Well, if you're expecting, I guess, if you're expecting to get this, take it out of the box, fly it around, it's not going to happen. You're going to end up with something like this happening, and that's because of the quality. The quality in this one only being a 5 out of 10. You can do some things to improve it, and I reckon if I had my time again, I'd do some things from the start. It would be a much better flying experience, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But for me, the quality really lets it down. Another con as well, I don't like how they've heavily borrowed from this top frame. It looks so similar. Yes, it's a little bit different, but it's the look-wise. Overall, look, I think it is actually different enough to sort of make it justifiable with the different parts and all that sort of stuff. The bottom is very different, all that sort of stuff. Feels different in terms of thickness, the arms, all that sort of stuff, but it still looks, it still has that iconic look of the floss, which I don't like that part as well, so that part's not pretty good. And then the other bit, and this was a big one, the DVR board in here, because it's not designed to carry a GoPro, the DVR board just didn't do it for me. If that's what was introducing the latency, and that's my theory, it didn't work. So, look, if I only had 200 bucks to spend and I wanted a really, I guess, premium fast racer, here's what I would do if I was going to be getting one of these things. Or if you're Eachine and listening, here's what you need to do. Change the camera, put a 2.3mm lens in there, maybe one of the micros or something like that. Skip the DVR board because it's just introducing way too much lag, so just run the camera straight to the OSD in here. We don't need to record with that DVR whatsoever. Change the top plate so it doesn't look like this, and I don't think that would be too hard. Just make it look a little bit different. Maybe have 2 standoffs off the back so it was just 1 square plate, something like that. You would have a much better craft, and that's not that difficult to do. And then also, if I was going to buy one of these, put a little standoff in here so you're not getting some flex inside your flight controller, which is also used to brace your arms. I don't like that. And then the other part, get rid of this bit on the side for like this tiny little thing. What you need, I'm not a fan of this design whatsoever. I don't like the antenna that they give you, and just run a little dipole whip antenna that comes out the back. That would be my recommendation. So whether you're Eachine listening and thinking, right, that's how we can improve it, or whether you're one of the people out there, I don't know why they don't send these things out for future testing just to find out, or whether you're one of the people out there who thinks, look, I can do all that stuff, that doesn't bother me too much, you know, and I've only got 200 bucks to spend. Well, if you did end up getting one of these, that's what I would be doing when I was going to fly it around. You know, if I had my time again and it wasn't for a review and I was just making this quad mine, that's what I'd be doing when I went to go fly it. Anyway, that's it on the bench. Let's cut out to the field. We'll see how the crash went and you'll see exactly what happened. We'll fly it around, show you guys some DVR, all that sort of stuff, and then the fun stuff. Hand over to Grumpy Trev, crash test Cal, and then hit it with the speed gun, and I guess you guys are going to see what happens. So let's cut out to the field and rip it around in 3, 2, 1. Rightio, out here in the field, about to rip it around with the new Wizard TS215. I'm pretty excited. I do think it's going to rip. What we'll do, we're not going to show you any GoPro footage or anything like that, because this one actually has an onboard like SD 720 recorder. So I'm hoping we can get that to work because there were no instructions, but I think I've got it sorted. I'll record some DVR as well. We'll rip it around the track, and then we'll hand it over to Grumpy Trev, crash test Cal, see how it goes. And then the big one, we're going to put some 6S on this and see if we have some success on some 6S. We'll see just how fast it's going to go, or is it going to burst into flames. All right, let's check it out and cut to some DVR in 3, 2, well, you got something to say, Trev?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you can repeat that 6S.
Okay. Anyway, let's cut to some DVR in 3, 2, 1, boop. Rightio, so here we go, and this literally is onboard. So this is the onboard DVR recorder, and we'll show you some footage of the goggle video as well. But flying around, you can see, I've got to say, first things first, I didn't mind the motors, and I didn't mind the ESCs and the prop combo. It felt very stable, no oscillations, anything like that. Really, really snappy. And that part, you know, I can't wait to see that in future quads that are coming out, because the power, it felt there. The responsiveness and the snappiness and the rolls and all that sort of stuff, it felt good in the air. But
On a massive flip side of that was a letdown by this camera and this DVR, because it's not really coming across here, but it was so, I guess, like jerky, latency, lag behind it, dropping frame rates. That's how it felt in the goggles anyway, that it was almost unflyable. So it doesn't matter how actually good the quad, when I say feels in the air in terms of performance, when you can't see and you don't have that response from your vision and those sorts of things in your FPV feed, there's just no point trying to fly it around, because you'd almost be relying on muscle memory or something like that. It was about a 1 second behind. It was really hard to explain, but trust me, you don't want to be flying when you've got that terrible latency and terrible lag. And you hear Trev sort of raving on about it as well. So that part definitely needs to be fixed. But what we should do now, this is actually on board, and first things first, look at all this stupid OSD nonsense that's on the screen. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to turn that off, so I can luckily do that through the menu. So let's cut to that. Now, I don't know what those motorbikes are on the screen for, and look, I've sped this up by about 300%, so it's not too busy, but you can turn all this sort of stuff off in the OSD. You know, you've got to pretty much turn every single one of these things off, which is nice. You can configure it like that, but it shouldn't come like that out of the box, so that part is a little bit annoying. Anyway, let's show you some DVR footage as well once we turn all this sort of rubbish off, because it's way too distracting. If you're going to get one of these, make sure you turn all that sort of stuff off. Okie dokie, so here we go. This is on board, and you can see the reception. Look, the reception's not the best, and really what's not coming across here is the latency. So this is very similar to that flight before, but you're obviously not getting the breakup with the onboard DVR. I do like it how down the bottom you can tell that it's recording and that sort of stuff flashing. I think that's nice. You can tell your SD card. There's still some other rubbish I would like to turn off, but overall, look, I just couldn't fly it with the latency. Everything, all the responses, all that sort of stuff felt the same, but that camera, it is almost impossible to fly, and I definitely wouldn't recommend it in that current state. I like the powertrain, like I mentioned, like the motors, like the SCs. I like how it actually performs in the air, and especially if you were doing it line of sight or something. But if you can't see, you can't fly, which is, you know, that's a massive shame.
Rightio, Trev, you just saw it ripping around in the air. How did it look?
Well, it looked really good.
That was on 4S, so
yeah.
It's meant to take a 6S, so we're going to see what happens after that. But yeah, how did it look on 4S zipping around?
Well, you could hear it, and you could tell it just wanted to go that little bit harder. I reckon even 5 or 6S on this thing, it's going to fang. Look, there is some similarities. But this thing's a lot thicker. We stand up to crashes a bit better, I guess, because I think these things do break.
Yep. Well, that's this one's design. It's designed to be replaceable, which is a good business model if you getting the arms, but they're pretty cheap as well.
Yeah. So, but look, it's not as cloney as most of them, but borrowed some bits off that, I guess.
Yep.
This thing itself, look, it seemed to go okay. Got a built-in DVR, so you did say it was a bit laggy, so
yeah, when I was
like to see that. So we'll give it a fly and see how it goes. But it's the best looking Wizard we've seen yet, so let's hope it performs as good as it looks.
Too easy. All right, let's do it. Put some goggles on and all that sort of jazz.
This camera is
Yep. What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's just laggy. It's terrible. Oh, it's, look, I don't know, you couldn't race this around a track.
Yep.
There's just too much delay. It's really, I see what you mean by laggy. That is absolute Don't they fly these I can't believe it. Look, it's got plenty of punch. It doesn't seem really focused, the camera.
Yep.
Flies okay, but really can't really fang it because it's not safe to fly.
Is there any oscillations that you can tell or anything like that?
Oh, not really. It's that lag, it's really hard to tell. It doesn't feel like I have. It feels really responsive. I don't know how you're flying it like that. This
What, the lag?
Yeah, this thing, it feels really good to fly, but I'm not going to punch it because just the delay in the camera is crap. It's really bad. They've got to fix that. These things will just come back in droves, or you just rip that part out. It's pointless.
So what would you say if you had one of these? What would you be doing?
I'd be putting a Runcam Swift in it. Stuff the DVR. Wouldn't worry about it. I reckon that's a gimmick, and it's certainly not going to be worth it. They're going to have to look at this. At the moment, this thing is. I just couldn't recommend this. Look, I think really it feels good. Look, it feels pretty locked in.
Yep.
But if you bought this, you'd have to change the camera out straight away because it's just not flyable. This would give anyone the shit.
Alrighty.
It does feel good, but like I said, the only thing I can point out is the camera. The lag is absolutely shit.
Alright, so I guess give it a performance rating out of 10, Trev?
Well, I'll give it about a 7 out of 10. Value for money, I don't know at the moment because I don't think it's worth buying because of the camera.
Yep.
Otherwise, you have to buy another camera, so the value's not there. They need to fix that before this goes onto the market.
Too easy. Alrighty, Trev.
Well, Look, it felt good. Did I say the camera was crap?
Yes.
It is crap. The quad itself is great, flies okay, but I think what we should do is pull this camera out while we're in the field and bypass it or whatever, piss that DVR off so we can actually fly it properly.
Too easy. All right, nice. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hand it over to Trev. Oh, hand it over to Cal.
Cal. Is Cal here?
No, he's over there choking on flies. All right, Calvin.
Come around this side.
CTC. He's telling me to move because of the sun. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. What do we got?
Okay, we've got a very floss-like quad.
Yep.
Obviously, it takes its design cues straight off the floss, that top plate.
Are you a fan of that or not a fan of that? How do you feel about
bottom plate, about the clonage.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it is a bit rude, but it's not an exact clone, which is, you know, par for the course for bangers. They just make slight variances on their frames, and I think that's good enough. But you know, it's a bit of a slap in the face for kebab. There's no doubt about it, but it is what it is.
Right, so what do you think about the quad? How did it look in the air anyway?
It looked fantastic, actually. It went pretty well. I think it's got a bit of an issue with camera lag at the moment, so you're not be able to.
Trev and I both ranting about it.
Not able to fang it to its full potential, but you know, it's definitely got potential. Yeah. Once you sort out those video issues, I think you're going to have a winner here. Floss doesn't have any kind of sandwich plate at all. It's just got a bottom plate, and the legs go straight onto the bottom plate and the standoffs onto the legs, which I think is a design flaw myself, but Kebab says that's the way he's designed it, so that the legs will break easily and take all the stress. But I don't want a quad that is going to have broken arms every time I smash it up. So for me, that was the big fault with the floss design.
Okay. Do you think this one will hold up better in crashes?
Yeah, marginally better, but not that much, because the sandwich plate on the top is very thin. It's just made out of some kind of I don't know what that material is.
Some sort of board. I really feel like too that's not a good thing to put stress onto the board and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so it's got a few problems, but you know, it looks great. It goes great. Will it hold up?
Well, you'll have to fly it around and see how it goes with it when you got the goggles on. See if you can handle that lag. All right, so let's put some goggles on, put a radio in your hand, and rip it around.
Roger.
Duct tape special.
Yeah.
Do you know why they call it duct tape?
Quack quack. I don't know.
No, I just thought that'd be a good joke. If you know a good joke about duct tape, why they call it that, down below. You look pretty grumpy over there, Trevor. Honestly, like a grumpy Santa Claus, all in black, just getting people's. If Santa Claus gives out the presents, you're the one who's dropping the coal off to people. Look at you, mate.
Yeah, you.
Come on, Calvin, what's going on, mate?
I'm just trying to work out the best way.
Slower than Trevor.
Today, come on, Jesus.
What the hell?
Gonna do some sports bike racing.
That's weird, isn't it? Maybe they'd be better suited to go on a motorbike.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, I can feel that lag straight away. Feel it, see it, sense it. It's problematic. All right, the camera itself, I'm guessing it's a CMOS. Picture isn't that bad apart from the lag, which is good. And I'm going to give it a punch just here. And this is what, 6S capable?
Yes.
Okay, so on 5S this is going to rip. On 6S this is going to be silly. From a learner's perspective, or someone who's just a beginner or intermediate, you know, you can just putt around on normal 4S, and then you can always step up to 5S when you want to get a bit crazy. So
how are you finding the lags affecting this?
It's affecting it a lot. I can't rip it around the way I want to at the moment.
If you had changed the camera, would you be flying this a lot differently?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No oscillation. It seems to work well on the defaults or whatever tuning it's coming with.
So who would you recommend this to? Would you get one, or what would you do if you did get one?
Well, I'd swap that camera out straight away. I think that would make all the difference in the world, especially for racing this thing, because at the moment it's unraceable.
Okay. All right, so give me Cal's famous 4 words. What do we got? Sum up the Wizard TS215. 4 words in its current state.
It's good with reservations.
It's good with reservations. Ah, I think that's your best one yet. No worries, I'll let you finish that pack. Thanks, Cal. Alrighty, Cal, Trev, I guess what did you reckon?
Look, it's an interesting frame. I love the design on it. This camo stuff looks great.
Yep, that's actually real carbon too. So we did, Trev and I tested that the other day. That is real carbon.
It's a very stiff frame.
Uh-huh.
What is it? That'd be about 4 mil,
I'd
say. 4
and 3.
Yeah. So look, it's interesting. It's going to be fairly lightweight. I don't know what it is on the scale, but I can just feel it in my hand that it feels light.
Under 300.
Yeah, and look, I'm really eager to see it with a bigger battery and see how it goes, because I reckon it's just going to scream.
All right, so gentlemen, how fast is this going to go on a 4S? We'll do 4S first.
85.
All right, what about you, Trev?
90. The way you were fanging it around, did have a bit of space to burn, I think so.
All right, well, I'm going to go a bit extreme. I'm going to go 95. So we'll see what happens. Always 5 apart. All right, 85, 90, 95. Let's do it. You ready to suit up? What about 6S? Now, before we even fang this thing, what do you think on 6S? Is it going to even make it? Is it going to burst into flames? We're going to skip 5S and jump straight to 6S.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
That's a good question. It's going to do over 100 mile an hour, there's no doubt about that.
That's not a number, Calvin.
Okay, I'll give it 110.
110?
I'll go for 107.
Okay, I'm going to go 120. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I want. That's 200 Ks.
I reckon it'll peak out before then. I reckon the props will reach their max before then, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do the 4S and then we'll do a 6S and see how we go.
Try to kill cold, take one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this floss clone. It's a weird one. I guess the floss has been out for quite a long time, so he's lucky they didn't bring it out earlier. All right, let's see how fast this thing does. Here we go. I think it's going to have the same problems as the floss, and it's a problem to me if it breaks every time it crashes. So let's see, come on, come on, bring it home. All right, that's more like 95. Oh, that's faster than I thought. Here we go. 97. 97 mile an hour. Oh, this rips on 4S. 93. 93 mile an hour. Alrighty. 96. Pretty consistent. Alright, last one. Alright, bring it home, bring it home. Send it. 99. 99 mile an hour. That's a good effort.
99.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't burst into flames.
Guys, now it's time for the 6S run, or the Socks Us run if you're from New Zealand. Let's see what it does. 110, 120 mile an hour, that's quite possible. Anything's possible. But I'll be holding this shield very tightly. All right. Okay, let's do it.
What did you say? I said 120.
I said 110, but I think you're going to be right. So look, we don't even know how well the tune is going to go with this quad or anything. So anything could happen here, anything at all. Especially when you're running on 6S. Burst into flames in mid-flight and a fireball just come down and hit me right in the face. Let's hope not. All right, here we go. Oh, what did I tell you guys? What did I tell you? See? What happened? No flames, at least. See if they heat it up at all.
No, they're pretty cool. Maybe we should just give it a little punch and see if it can handle 6S, because as soon as I push that throttle, it just desynced. So I feel like it's not going to be able to handle that 6S voltage.
Alright guys, we're going to try a punch out with 6S and see what happens. If it's going to desync again. I don't even like standing close. I've got the shield up just in case.
I'm standing behind Cal as well.
No go on 6S. You can't handle the truth. No smoke, no flames. That's a good thing.
Not very good at freestyle, is he, Kel?
That was
flips and hit the deck.
Intense freestyle.
I was going to say, that was a new manoeuvre I haven't seen yet.
Mind you, they were quick flips.
Chime it down.
Yeah.
Well, so you get to go first, Cal. What's your 5S bet?
I think it's still do 110.
Okay, Trev?
107 still.
Well, I'll go 115. I'm standing behind Cal. Are you ready, Cal?
Ready. Need some tuning.
I might put a clean set of props on for the speed run, and then we can see how it goes. That way we can't blame it on the props.
Even then it was reaching its peak.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. New set of props and then a speed run.
Guys, as you saw, there was no success with the 6S. So we're going down to 5S. And I think it's going to be all right. I think it's going to have a few jitters on the top end, but you know, nothing that can't be sorted out with a bit of tuning. But I think it's going to haul ass. Let's get it on. Oh, I can hear it stuttering already. Nothing. Woo! There you go, we had the desync, fellas. It can't handle the power and it just pooed itself, quite literally. It's in pieces over here. That could have been straight into my face, but fortunately it missed me. All right, we've got a battery strap there. Oh boy, look at this. Oh, what happened? That's what I want to know. What happened?
I just punched it.
It just desunk, I guess. It's weird. The battery strap must have busted when it hit the ground, but.
Well, there we go. Top sandwich plate looks okay.
Okay.
What's burnt though? There's smoke come out of it, I tell you.
You reckon smoke came out?
Oh, definitely smoke come out.
Strawberry?
Yeah, it's smoked, I tell you, it's smoked.
Battery strap.
You gonna plug it in, Trevor?
Yeah.
Ready for smoke, and point it at Calvin, please.
Bang! I got him.
Any smoke?
No.
Ah.
That's good to go. Just need a bit of soldering.
It's actually broken here. That screw looks like all you need is a screw in there.
Oh, we've got spares.
Gents, so what do you think? What actually, you found out what's going on with it, Trev?
Well, it doesn't like 5S because it left a vapor trail when we did try that.
Yep.
Give it a fang, and it does a bit smelly, this ESC, and there's a bit of solder all over the props and on the motor here from the ESC, so it's got pretty warm.
So now knowing everything you know, I guess sum this up. How do you feel about this?
Well, look, it's.
Would you recommend one?
Oh, look, I still would. Not everyone's going to
Okay.
fly 5S. I reckon 4S is fine on this thing. But having said that, I would want to do something about the camera. We're going to try that now, but it's too late because we broke it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rush out and buy one at the moment. No.
Wait for some revisions.
Yeah, wait.
What about you, Cal?
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, the motors seem good. I'm not sure about these ESCs. That seemed to be the point of failure when we went to 5 and 6S.
Yep.
The frame's nice and stiff. I'm not sure how it's going to hold up. If it holds up, I think it's a winner. But it's a great looking quad. There's no doubt about that. It's a looker.
Well, that hit the ground pretty hard with this then, so.
It could have been a bolt that came out in here because the rest of it's fine. It's just loose.
It all depends how it hits too. If you dropped out of the sky from 200 feet and came down like that, I think you're going to break something. But if you plow into something like this, seems to be what happens.
What happened then could have been a bolt too.
Yeah.
We might have lost a bolt out that shorted out, so.
I think like it's not a complete failure, but it needs some little revisions, which tends to go with these cheaper ones. There's just a few things that need to fix up. Fix up that camera, get rid of the DVR. Look, if it doesn't run, 5S don't make it like that. Change the PDB. So yeah, it's definitely far from perfect. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the Wizard TS215, and overall, I feel like it just misses the mark on too many levels. Some of those are the little sciences about flying a quadcopter around. I don't feel like Eachine's really got it. Leave the real science up to the dentists, and I think there's a few things they need to fix before you can take this quad out of the box and rip it around. Now, number one, I would like it to look a little bit different for this because these are two very different quads, and I don't want people to be misled of buying this thinking they're going to get something like this, because look, even if they both perform, they perform drastically different. This is like an ultralight. I'll link this down below too, Bob's frame. This one is pretty much, I think, going to be like a speed demon, but when we put it on 5S, who knows what happened with that crash investigation. Did the arm come loose? You know, did we lose a bolt? Did the ESC melt? I'm not 100% sure what happened. They're all some different theories, but regardless, it shouldn't happen, and it's not something you want when you take it out of the box and fly it around. On top of that, look, I don't like this antenna. I wish they just put a normal whip antenna. It didn't make a TBS looking one on the top there. I would also say, Eachine, you need to do some quality control when it comes to like putting little spacers and that sort of stuff in. That's going to make a much more rigid thing, and the DVR recorder really ruined it for me in this one. I couldn't fly it with this camera DVR setup. It made it far too laggy. Look, I could sort of push it around a little bit, but that was only through maybe muscle memory or something like that. It just wasn't the best flight experience. Now look, If you could fix some of those things up, I think you would definitely be on to win. A different top plate, different camera recorder board, and just making sure that it's not going to burn when it's going through the air. I would be quite happy to recommend this one, but in its current state, with how similar it looks and all those things, I'm going to say, look, it just misses the mark in my opinion. But look, that's just my opinion on it. Definitely drop your opinions down below. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. I did think these motors were quite nice though. In the short time that I had, I felt like they were very smooth. They weren't coming down very hot whatsoever. So look, I was a fan of the motors, and I think it does look pretty cool. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.